back to Sweden Fights On. This is the Battle of Wittstock. No, not Woodstock. Wittstock. So what we have here after, what did we do last? Alright, I'm going to have to look. Nordlingen. Yeah. After Nordlingen, the Swedish army's in a lot of trouble. It's weaker. It's kind of playing these standoff games in North Germany at this point. But here we finally get into a situation where the Swedes have to, or feel like they have to fight, under Banner. Why? Well, because they're losing towns, and they're really kind of running out of room. Banner's got a smaller force than the combined Catholic force. The Catholics now have the Saxons, which are going to be these black edged units, along with their Bavarians and their regular sort of league units. And these are just replacement leaders. There's no good place to keep them in this game. But anyway, the map takes up the whole region, and we're back to normal size hexes here. None of those kind of bloated 30% larger or whatever. Swedes decide to attack. Strange enough in its own. Now, the south is where they'd be expected to attack from, and you've got some field works of some sort here, which are not specified anywhere. Along this line here. They are not noted in the terrain key. I'm assuming they count as entrenchments or something. The games are not as, in these earlier games, they're not as good at spelling out every single little thing. So in the later ones, you'll see all the terrain is specified in it. Here there's some, but they don't even mention that particular piece. And it's not noted over there. So anyway, the Swedes would be expected to come from this direction, but instead Banner decides to go for a double envelopment. We've got a big infantry wing here and a cav wing. And then in the future, we have a table which allows you to roll for entry starting on turn 4 for another cav wing coming from this direction, and then another infantry wing coming from the south, which could come right behind, presumably, the Catholic position. And I've repositioned things in terms of direction. I'm not sure which way I want to face here. This is really an ugly situation. And the Catholics have kind of a nice defensive position in that they got this big marsh here. If from the direction they're expecting the attack coming from, they've got the defensive works, etc. They have all their artillery lined up there. It's all facing it's all facing this way now, because that's where the troops are. Come turn 4, I can start deciding to spin things or whatever. And we got cav wings. This cav wing. Everything's... this is considered the first line. This is the second line. But I've turned everything around. There's no requirement that I have to face the wrong way at this point in the game. I'm aware that the Swedes are coming, apparently. But this puts the Catholics in a difficult position. If they were defending in this direction, it wouldn't be terrible. But defending in both directions and getting an enveloping attack from that direction, this is really a threatening position. You don't want to get caught like this. And we're going to see how this all plays out. But you have to feel that this is probably going to be a pretty serious win, as it was historically for the Swedes. Now, of course, the game takes that into account, because the victory conditions require the Swedes to get over 100 points in bonus. And there are no special terrain bonuses or anything. This is just a killing game. The Swedes are outnumbered. They have what looks to be better troops, though. No big shock there. Alright, well, let's get rolling. Alright, I augmented my setup a little bit here through some open order markers on a lot of these Swedes. They've got to cross these hills. Now, the hills are steep in this game, which, you know how much I love that, but there's a nice big open area. There's a lot of room for fighting. A little bit of danger here as I come across this Scharfenberg. The Catholics look like that might actually be a risk where I'm going to be facing countercharges or something. And I may have to worry a little bit about that. I may not really want to charge over that hill. Catholics are not putting anything in open order. I got to think real hard whether or not I want to reposition, because there is a force coming from the south I got to worry about. So I'm beginning to think I almost want to create a double, well, you know, almost a square formation here, in a sense, to cope with the situation. Now, historically, the Catholics probably didn't realize that they were trapped the way they are. So, but as a player, you do. Alright. Well, I guess I'll start moving with these guys first. Quickly moved the Swedes forward. Got a couple of continuations on the infantry in the back, which allowed me to pull the cannons up a little closer. I gotta think real hard. Not so much with the Swedes, but what the hell are the Catholics gonna do here? I think I'm gonna have to take a little break to do so. Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to let the Swedes set up, so I had John George, or Johann George, launch a charge, and he actually got away with it. Smacked in, some interceptions occurred, but the net effect, a couple of Swedes turned away. He got a continuation and managed to reform some of his units, so he's a little stronger in the front there, you know, than he was a moment ago, right? But we do have one dead, chased off the map by a Swedish cav. And now I gotta decide what the hell to do with these guys. I kind of want to keep this cav in position, but I think I may want to move my force and just try to throw all my weight against the Swedes if I can. The reason being, I'm in a really dangerous position right now if I can't get things moving. We'll see. As we finish turn one, it looks like the Catholics are going to be putting the Swedes on the defensive here. Started moving the infantry and the cav wing over to the left and into position. Just trying to swing around here and hit them here. That takes a lot of the advantages out of the double envelope if it works. Of course, there's a question. You know, if these things come in early, it's going to be a real problem coming up the rear this way where I lose my defensive positioning, coming in from the flank. I've got a cav force there that can probably handle the Swedish cav, but can't be sure. We'll see. John George, perhaps somewhat foolishly, decides to continue reforming and spreading out, preparing for an attack. The Swedish cav tries to shift over. They get a continuation, but they're trumped in here by Hartsfeld or Hatsfield or whatever. I'm wondering where the McCoys are. Hartsfeld. Yeah, my lame attempts at humor. His cav left wing did not get a continuation, but it's positioning itself, preparing. We've got a lot of cav forming up for a battle for the Catholics, and we're pulling the infantry forward as soon as possible, but right now we're over to the Swedish infantry over here. Okay, and turn two ends with the Swedes positioning themselves uh-oh. Yeah, that's kind of stuck there. Behind the Scharfenberg. This is unable to rally or form up. Behind the Scharfenberg, actually throwing up a gun back here. They're moving another one back, trying to get these guns into a position where they can do something. John George's cav has kind of interdicted this, and the Swedes don't really want to engage quite yet. So they're willing to take a defensive position and let their forces kind of start positioning themselves on the board to try to force the Catholics into some sort of square type formation to cope with this, which will probably be a serious problem for these heavy units. You can see the Catholic infantry has gotten a lot of activations. They got the full 3, the artillery sliding up, and that was kind of at risk if that infantry could chase it because it's faster, or if the cav coming in from here. and this cav wing swinging around. We're trying to finish this as fast as possible. John George attacking unsupported probably wouldn't have done that, but now with the infantry here, I feel like I'm ready to go. Opening moves on turn 3, the left wing moves forward, and then the Swedes kind of try to counter it by putting their own position into play over here. Now I'm in a tough conundrum. I know I'm going to launch John George's right wing. I don't know what to do with it. Clearly I've got this unit if I charge that I want to wipe out. I want them over here. I want them to threaten the flank. I think to do that, I've got to start moving them into open order and getting them over into this woods here. I've got enough cav in the left and the center to handle what the Swedes have here. Now, this is actually one of those, that's just my thinking on the tactics, but then you start to say, well, wait a minute. Obviously, with what you've done, you have to try to bust the Swedes to have a chance here. But, in a sense, my decision here, although it may be factored by knowledge that I should not have as the player, which is that I am encircled, is the decision of someone who does not particularly like a competitive game, right? I'm going to win this battle as the Catholics. Now, the Catholics, to win this game, only need to slow the Swedes from getting a certain victory condition, a certain level of victory, right? So, possibly taking up a defensive position somewhere, who knows where, maybe a circle where I was is good, although I don't like that at all. This system is dangerous to be encircled. It's dangerous to have an enemy who's more mobile than you with their cav. I think this is the right strategy to take given the double envelopment, but I also don't want to just win here and then present maybe a defensive stance. I might try that, but what I really want to do is defeat the Swedish army en masse. The competitive gamer would probably try to break this and hunt it down and position themselves defensively here. It might be the best move. I might go with that. But I don't want to be in that position where I'm not trying to do what the historical commander would be trying to do. The historical commander would be looking and saying, if I can win the battle, if I can defeat in detail the different forces, I'm going to go for it. And that's kind of the difference here. I want that role-playing aspect in the game rather than just the, I'm playing a competition. This is what I will do to win it. And games that don't provide me with that opportunity to maybe do okay, even though I'm not trying to optimize, I'm not going to be too fond of. This game, hey, I feel perfectly free to do whatever I like. The system is going to react appropriately. Alright, let's finish this turn. And there we hit the end of turn 3, moving to turn 4. I'm going to load this up because obviously we're not going to make it through it in one. The center, unable to move too far up. John George getting into open formation to try to push through these woods. He couldn't get these guys in. They're gonna be a problem. That's all there is to it. I'm not sure what to do. The Swedes moved forward a little bit, getting themselves right at the edge of the of where the downslope comes, so that if I come charging across there, I'm going to be facing it. Now, there's a mixed bag there. Melee's tougher going uphill, obviously. So that's going to be kind of a tricky situation. But I want to make the Catholics have to move up here and take the formation hit, or else the equivalent formation hit of being in open order. The gun's beginning to open up here. I've got a problem. I can't get these guns up on this hill with the windmill over there. The reason, they'll be out of command, so I can't just order them all the way up there easily. I might be able to stretch it out, one here, one there, then move one up. It's going to be rough though, and then they'll be limbered, and I'll have to get some infantry stretched out. That's just not going to work. So I think I'm going to have to position the guns kind of back here. Not the optimal location for me, but alternatively I could send Leslie over to position the guns after I've activated all the other units in the command. That might work. Anyway, just trying to think in my head how I can get the guns where I want them. I don't feel like I have enough cav here. Really what it comes down to is how well and how quickly these guys come in. Alright, let's send this one up.